Imagine arriving at a thriving English colony, only to find it completely abandoned. No people, no signs of struggle, no graves, just silence. And carved into a single wooden post, one word, CROATOAN. For over 400 years, historians, archaeologists, and mystery seekers have struggled to answer the same haunting question. What happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Did they perish? Did they flee? Or did they vanish into legend? Today, we uncover one of the greatest mysteries in American history.
Welcome back to Echoes of the Past. This is the second chapter of our journey into history's deepest mysteries. In our first episode, we explored the legend of Atlantis, fact, myth, or something in between. If you missed it, you can find the link above, and I recommend watching it after this. Today, we turn to the mystery of the Roanoke colony, and I'll be honest, this story can't be told in just 5 or 10 minutes. While other videos may give you a glimpse, here you'll find a deeper, more comprehensive look at what really might have happened. So, settle in, grab a cup of tea, maybe a biscuit, and prepare yourself, because the mystery of Roanoke is more chilling, more fascinating, and more unsolved than you've ever imagined.
To understand the mystery of Roanoke, we must go back to the late 16th century, a time when England was desperate to compete with Spain for power and glory in the New World. Spain had already claimed vast territories, but England had little more than dreams. In 1584, under the blessing of Queen Elizabeth I, Sirwalterraleigh received a charter to establish a permanent English colony in North America. For England, this wasn't just about land. It was about survival, power, and securing their place on the world stage. The chosen location was a small island just off the coast of modern-day North Carolina, Roanoke Island. It was remote, surrounded by marshes, dense forests, and untamed wilderness. The settlers who came here, men, women, and children, were not hardened explorers, but ordinary families seeking a new life. At the heart of this story was John White, an artist, cartographer, and eventually governor of the colony. He had a vision to create a thriving English settlement. But reality soon proved far harsher. Supplies ran low, tensions with local native tribes rose, and survival grew uncertain. In 1587, White made a difficult choice. He would sail back to England to gather reinforcements and provisions, promising the colonists he would return swiftly. His departure was filled with hope, but his return would reveal one of the greatest mysteries in American history. When John White finally stepped back onto Roanoke Island, 3 years later, the colony had vanished. Over 100 men, women, and children gone. Their houses dismantled, their belongings missing. And the only clue? A single word carved into a wooden post: CROATOAN.
To understand how such a mystery could even happen, we must step back in time, back to where it all began. Let's uncover the historical background of the Roanoke colony and see how a dream of empire turned into a ghost story.
Picture the year 1587. Over 100 English settlers step onto the shores of Roanoke Island. Among them are men, women, and children, entire families who have left everything behind. They aren't adventurers chasing gold, but ordinary people hoping for a permanent home in the New World. This colony is meant to secure England's foothold against Spain, to bring wealth, power, and glory back across the Atlantic. At first glance, Roanoke seems like a place of promise. Tall forests offer timber for homes. The surrounding waters hold fish and oysters. Fertile-looking ground appears ready for crops, but appearances deceive. The soil is poor and sandy difficult to farm. The climate is harsher than expected. Humid summers bring swarms of insects, and winter storms batter their fragile shelters. Life quickly becomes a daily test of survival. Settlers attempt to build homes, fashion tools, and plant crops, but their supplies dwindle faster than expected. Fishing sometimes brings bounty, but other times the nets return nearly empty. Hunting is risky in unfamiliar woods, and the colonists lack experience with the game of this land. Hunger begins to gnaw at the colony. Their interactions with the native tribes are a mixture of fragile alliances and tense standoffs. Some tribes, like the CROATOAN, offer guidance, teaching the settlers local crops, sharing food, and even trading. Others view them as invaders, sparking hostility. Misunderstandings erupt into skirmishes, leaving the settlers in a constant state of unease. Disease also lurks among them. Without proper medicine, even small illnesses spread quickly. Children are especially vulnerable. Every cough, every fever could be deadly. Despite this, the settlers cling to hope, driven by the dream that this colony might one day flourish. Much of that hope rests on one man, John White, the colony's governor. White is more than just a leader. He is a father and a grandfather. His daughter, Eleanor, gives birth to Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the New World. To the settlers, Virginia symbolizes a future here, a reminder that Roanoke is not just a temporary outpost, but the beginning of a lasting community. But as weeks turn into months, survival becomes more desperate. Supplies from England run dangerously low. The settlers plead with White to return to England for help. It is a heartbreaking decision. He must leave behind his daughter, his granddaughter, and the colony he swore to protect. He promises to return swiftly, with ships full of supplies. Yet fate has other plans. England is locked in a brutal conflict with Spain. The threat of the Spanish Armada consumes the nation, and every ship is called to defend the homeland. White finds himself trapped in England, powerless for 3 long years. Back on Roanoke, the colonists endure storms, hunger, and the constant uncertainty of what tomorrow might bring. 3 years without aid, 3 years without contact, 3 years to vanish from history. When John White finally returns in 1590, stepping back onto the sandy shores of Roanoke, the colony is silent. Homestand abandoned. Fields are overgrown. The people, his family, are gone. And carved into a tree is a single haunting word: CROATOAN.
What John White found upon his return was emptiness. No colony, no people, no answers. From that moment onward, the world has asked one question: what happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Before we uncover the truth behind one of America's oldest mysteries, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next story waiting to be rediscovered. In this next part, we'll explore the leading theories of disappearance, from survival to destruction, from fact to speculation. One of the most widely accepted theories is that the settlers of Roanoke did not disappear at all, but were absorbed into a nearby native tribe.
The word CROATOAN carved into a tree has long been considered the colony's only clue. The CROATOAN people, now known as the Hatteras tribe, lived just south of Roanoke Island. Could the settlers have moved there, seeking refuge, food, and protection? There are hints that suggest this possibility. Later English explorers reported sightings of native people with gray eyes and English features, fueling speculation that these were descendants of Roanoke settlers. Oral traditions among tribes in the region also speak of alliances and intermarriage with Europeans. Archaeological digs on Hatteras Island have uncovered curious finds, artifacts of European origin, like fragments of weapons and tools mixed among native settlements. Were these traded items or the belongings of colonists who had joined the tribe?
If true, the story of Roanoke is not one of vanishing, but of survival, families choosing to adapt to a new way of life rather than perish. Yet without concrete proof. Another possibility lies in the shadow of global conflict. In the late 1500s, Spain and England were bitter enemies. Spain already controlled vast parts of the Americas, and Roanoke was a bold English attempt to stake a claim.
Some historians believe the Spanish may have discovered the vulnerable colony and destroyed it. Spanish patrols sailed up and down the American coast, searching for rival settlements. If they had found Roanoke, they may have burned it, killed the settlers, or taken them prisoner, erasing England's first foothold in the New World.
But there's a problem. No records survive in Spanish archives of such an attack. While Spain had motive, and certainly the power, we are left only with silence. Did the Spanish cover up their actions? Or was the colony simply too small and too insignificant to ever cross their path? This theory captures the drama of the age, empires clashing across oceans, but with no evidence, it lingers only as a shadow on history's wall. Perhaps the simplest answer is also the most tragic. Roanoke settlers faced an unforgiving environment: poor soil, storms, scarce food, and constant illness. Alone and without supplies, they may have slowly wasted away.
Starvation was a very real threat. Crops failed, hunting was unreliable, and the colony had no resupply for years. Disease, too, could sweep through with devastating speed. Malaria, dysentery, or infections could wipe out families in weeks. Exposure to harsh winters and hurricanes may have finished what hunger began.
But if the settlers died of these causes, why were no graves ever found? Why no bones, no mass burial sites? Some argue the forest reclaimed them, erasing all traces over centuries. Others believe survivors tried to move inland in search of better conditions, scattering their remains far beyond Roanoke. This theory offers no drama of conquest or assimilation, only the quiet tragedy of human fragility against nature's power. Another possibility lies in violent conflict. While some tribes cooperated with the settlers, others viewed them as dangerous intruders. Earlier expeditions had already left scars. An English force in 1585 had killed a native chief, sowing distrust and resentment.
The Roanoke settlers, desperate and hungry, may have strained relations further, raiding for food or trespassing on hunting grounds. Skirmishes could have escalated into full-scale violence. Entire families might have been wiped out, with survivors taken captive or fleeing into the wilderness.
Yet once again, no definitive evidence survives. No records from native oral traditions describe a massacre of this scale, though some hints exist of battles with Europeans. Were the settlers killed or absorbed into rival tribes as captives? If true, the fate of Roanoke was sealed not by nature or Spain, but by human mistrust. Two cultures colliding, with one erased from the land it sought to claim. 4 theories, 4 possible fates, none proven beyond doubt. And so, Roanoke remains one of history's most haunting mysteries. A colony that vanished, leaving only questions in its wake. But when history fails to explain, legends begin to rise. Over time, Roanoke transformed from a real event into a realm of myth, mystery, and fear. Now, let's step beyond the facts and into the myths and legends surrounding the Lost Colony. Perhaps the most chilling legend tied to Roanoke revolves around a single word, CROATOAN. Carved into wood, it was the only trace left behind. Some believe it was not a clue at all, but a warning. In later centuries, the word CROATOAN would appear in strange and ominous places. When Edgar Allan Poe was found delirious shortly before his death, legend claims the word was scrawled in his belongings. The stage magician Harry Houdini reportedly had the word written in his diary just before his final performance.
Even sailors lost at sea were said to have carved it onto their ships before vanishing.
Could it have been a marker of doom, a curse, or was it all coincidence, stories layered on over time to make the mystery darker? Whether fact or folklore, CROATOAN became more than a word. It became a symbol of disappearance itself.
When history offers no clear answers, the human imagination often fills the gaps. Some myths claim that Roanoke's settlers fell victim to dark forces. Stories of witches, curses, and supernatural punishment swirl around the legend. In modern times, more outlandish theories have emerged. Some suggest alien abduction, that the entire colony was taken in a single event, explaining the lack of bodies or ruins.
Others whisper of portals or dimensional shifts, that Roanoke was swallowed into another realm. Of course, historians dismiss these as fantasy. Yet the very fact that such ideas persist shows us something important. Roanoke is not just a historical puzzle. It has become a canvas for humanity's deepest fears, the fear of vanishing without a trace. Roanoke's disappearance has echoed through literature, television, and even horror stories. In American folklore, the Lost Colony is often retold as a ghost story, a warning of arrogance, isolation, or divine punishment. In popular culture, it has inspired novels, films, and even television series. From historical dramas to paranormal horror, Roanoke is portrayed as everything from a tragic colony to a supernatural mystery. Shows like American Horror Story, Roanoke transformed the legend into haunting fiction, embedding it deeper into the public imagination. Over centuries, the story has grown larger than life. Whether cursed word, alien abduction, or ghostly tale, Roanoke has become more than history. It has become legend, a reminder that the line between fact and myth is often blurred by the stories we tell. History gave us the facts, a colony vanished. Legend gave us the meaning, a story of curses, myths, and fears that endure to this day. While myths grew, science searched for truth. Across centuries, explorers, archaeologists, and scientists have tried to uncover what really happened. Now, let's turn to the archaeological and scientific evidence, the real clues that might finally solve the mystery. For centuries, the mystery of Roanoke lingered without real physical evidence. But in the 19th and 20th centuries, archaeology began to take its first steps toward uncovering the truth.
Early digs on Roanoke Island itself found remnants of English tools and pottery, artifacts confirming the settlers had once been there.
Yet strangely, none of the finds explained where they went. It was as though the colony had simply moved on. The absence of graves, burned remains, or fortifications suggested one thing: the colonists didn't die in place. They must have left, together. In recent decades, modern archaeology has shed new light on the mystery. The evidence suggests that at least some colonists may have moved inland, integrating with friendly tribes for survival. For the first time, archaeologists had a tangible lead, proof that Roanoke settlers did not simply vanish, but adapted.
Another promising location is Hatteras Island, once home to the CROATOAN tribe. Excavations here revealed items unmistakably linked to English settlers: a sword hilt, a slate writing tablet, even fragments of Elizabethan-era clothing fasteners.
For many, these finds confirm the most logical theory, that the word CROATOAN carved at Roanoke was a signpost, a message left for John White, pointing to where they had relocated. It may not explain the whole colony's fate, but it suggests survival rather than annihilation.
Today, science pushes the investigation further. DNA projects are underway, comparing the genetic material of Native American descendants in the region with samples from known English lineages. If a match is found, it could finally prove that Roanoke's settlers merged with local tribes.
Satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and advanced dating techniques continue to search for hidden structures, long buried under centuries of soil and sand. Taken together, archaeology paints a more nuanced story. The settlers may not have been wiped out in one dramatic event, but scattered, some moving inland, some joining the CROATOAN, others perhaps perishing along the way. Still, no single piece of evidence has closed the case. Instead, the discoveries deepen the mystery, giving us fragments of survival, but never the full story. Roanoke remains a puzzle, one we are still trying to solve, even 400 years later. Even after centuries of searching, Roanoke's fate remains uncertain. But the question is, why does it still matter? Let's explore why this mystery endures and why humanity refuses to let it fade. More than 4 centuries have passed, and still the question remains. Why does the mystery of Roanoke continue to captivate us? Perhaps it's because we are drawn to the unknown. Human beings crave answers, yet we are endlessly fascinated by the questions that refuse to be solved. An entire colony vanishing without a trace, it defies reason, it challenges our need for order, and it reminds us that history is not a perfect record, but a patchwork of shadows and fragments. Roanoke's fate echoes across time, like the silent ruins of the Maya, the legend of Atlantis, or the lost cities swallowed by sand and sea. Each mystery whispers the same truth. Civilizations, no matter how mighty, are fragile. In many ways, Roanoke is the American Atlantis, a story of ambition and survival, of dreams erased by time, yet never forgotten. But perhaps the reason it endures runs even deeper. Because Roanoke is not just about the settlers who disappeared, it's about us. Our desire to understand where we came from, and our quiet fear of what might one day happen to us. Will our own cities, our own empires, one day become lost chapters for future generations to uncover? Roanoke endures because it is more than history. It is a mirror, a reflection of human fragility, and the unbreakable spirit that keeps searching, even when the answers are gone. And now, as we piece together everything we've learned, the facts, the theories, the legends, it's time to reflect. This is the heart of the mystery, the climax and reflection of Roanoke's haunting story. There are moments when silence speaks louder than words. Standing where Roanoke once stood, the wind carries whispers of the past, voices we'll never hear again, dreams long buried beneath the Carolina soil. The lost colony may be gone, but its absence still fills the air. Each broken stone, each fading carving, tells a story of courage and despair, a story written not in ink, but in mystery. We imagine their final nights, the flicker of firelight against the palisades, the fear of isolation growing stronger than the ocean tides, and then nothing. Only the forests reclaiming what humanity abandoned. Yet, in that emptiness, there's something profoundly human. Because Roanoke's story isn't just about disappearance, it's about resilience, about those who dared to cross an ocean for hope, and the timeless truth that not all journeys end where we expect them to. Perhaps the greatest mystery of Roanoke is not where they went, but how their story continues to echo through ours. Every unanswered question, every half-buried clue, reminds us that history is alive, that the search itself is part of who we are. And so, Roanoke becomes more than a tragedy. It becomes a reflection of the courage to explore, the cost of ambition, and the fragile thread that ties every generation to those who came before. Even in the silence, their story still speaks. Centuries have passed, yet Roanoke still calls to us. It asks a question that history cannot answer. What truly endures when everything else is lost? Perhaps the answer lies not in ruins or relics, but in our need to remember. Every theory, every expedition, every whisper of the lost colony is proof that we still care, that the human spirit refuses to let silence have the last word. From the edge of the New World to the screens of today, the mystery of Roanoke continues to echo, not as a tale of failure, but of endless curiosity. Because every mystery we chase reminds us that discovery is not about finding all the answers. So as the waves crash upon the Carolina shore, one truth remains. They may have vanished, but their story did not. And in that story of hope, loss, and resilience, we find a reflection of ourselves, the lost colony of Roanoke, never truly lost, only waiting to be remembered. What do you think really happened to the lost colony of Roanoke? Were they absorbed into another tribe? Or did they meet a darker fate? I'd love to hear your theory. Share it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into one of history's deepest mysteries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another story from Echoes of the Past. Until next time, keep asking questions, because history is full of echoes waiting to be heard.